Hi, Dr. Pruriens here, and today we're going to be talking about the top nootropics that actually boost dopamine levels. Now, I'm going to be sharing with you probably something that you probably are not very familiar with when it comes to nootropics and how to really boost your levels. I'm going to take it from a very scientific approach whenever I am working with patients and clients to understand truly what's really going on, of the imbalances of why someone cannot increase their dopamine levels and why they're having a hard time probably trying different nootropics, because they're probably not looking at it from a more scientific perspective when it comes to looking at the imbalances they're coming from. So I'm going to share one case study to really kind of bring this all together. Now, this person, this individual, when he came to me, I would say he had severe ADHD. So people with ADHD tend to have dopamine levels being low. And he had severe ADHD symptoms where he couldn't focus, he had no motivation, he was struggling at his job. In fact, he managed a team, and that was very difficult because he was doing construction and stuff like that. And at the same time, he also was dealing with low energy, his mood was off, he was dealing with all these different things that were stressing him out because of his lack of dopamine levels. So when I looked at one to understand more in depth to see why was that happening. So we looked at some labs. So this will help us really understand what, in my opinion, are the best types of nootropics to implement when someone is significantly low in the dopamine pathway. That's not always the case, though. I've seen it where some people can have actually elevated levels of dopamine, or there's different pathways that can be out of balance, or other different body functionality, body chemistry that could be off, from hormone perspective to micronutrients to allergies to all sorts of different things that, I do look at and test for. So, but looking at from this perspective is you could see this individual when we ran his test. This is all the different things that actually contribute to dopamine. And all of them were low, significantly low, as you can see from here. So I'm going to break this down piece by piece to help you understand what are the top nootropics when we're looking at specifically trying to improve dopamine. And looking at the dopamine pathway, I think, is the best way to look at this if we're going to use something more natural of a nootropic to help improve these levels. So the very first place to really look at is looking at phenylalanine, also known as PEA. Now, this is an excitatory neurotransmitter that does help improve dopamine levels because it's the very beginning. And when we see this low, just like this individual where it was low, what we want to incorporate, and I'd say one of the top ones that I love using, is DL-phenylalanine. If I can spell. There we go. DL-phenylalanine. And because phenylalanine is an amino acid that helps PA levels, but it also is the very beginning of the dopamine pathway. So that's one, right? Is DL-phenylalanine. Now let's move on to the next part, and that's tyrosine. Okay, so tyrosine directly actually helps build L-Dopa, which then L-Dopa helps build dopamine. So this is very, very critical when it comes to improving your dopamine levels. Is if you are deficient, like this person was, his tyrosine levels were low. Now, not everybody has this situation. I'd say probably about 30 to 40% of people that come in with me with ADHD, I'll see this low. But that's not always the case. But if it is, it can make drastic improvements in helping with focus, motivation, drive, just like this individual did. And so what I like to incorporate is either L-tyrosine or NALT, and which stands for N-acetyl L-tyrosine. The reason why I like NALT is because it is more easily absorbed. Same with L-tyrosine. And so that's just another way that I'll usually experiment with people to see which one their body handles best with. But when we can improve those levels, you'll start seeing drastic improvements, improving your dopamine levels, which then what you're going to be feeling is more improvement in motivation, more improvement in focus and drive and stuff like that. Okay. Now, the next step is L-Dopa. Let me use a different color here. So L-Dopa, right? So how do we improve L-Dopa levels? Well, the best one that I have seen, as far as just like a more of a natural way to actually improving L-Dopa levels, is Mucuna Pruriens. Actually, I think it's, yeah, so Pruriens. Mucuna Pruriens. And this is an actual herb that actually has about 5% of actual L-Dopa in it. And this is what I find very effective to not only improve helping L-Dopa levels, but it directly, because it's what actually directly does build and make dopamine. Just like tyrosine helps with that, and phenylalanine does as well. So this is really like, and actually this should be 3. Sorry about that. So, and then the next one that I think is important to look at when we're looking at dopamine directly, what are other nootropics that can improve dopamine? Probably one of the biggest ones that I like, especially when we're talking about norepinephrine and epinephrine, which is a breakdown of dopamine, but we see it within, built from, produced in the adrenal glands that release norepinephrine and epinephrine, and also cortisol. But with dopamine, another one that I do like is L-theanine. Now, L-theanine has been known to actually cross the blood-brain barrier. In fact, it helps improve GABA levels, which then is used as an excitatory to help improve dopamine as well. So that's why I really like L-theanine, but also L-theanine helps with both also norepinephrine and epinephrine, which is also very common to see. If someone usually has dopamine levels that are low, they're also going to have norepinephrine and epinephrine levels low, just like this individual also had in this patient of mine. Now, these are some of the really, really powerful ones if you are actually deficient in these areas. Now, another great one to also consider on top of that, I mentioned, this isn't directly that will improve dopamine specifically, but will help more with balancing the deficiencies in norepinephrine and epinephrine. And this is going to be something called, and I wouldn't say this necessarily a nootropic, but it helps with norepinephrine and epinephrine, and that's adrenal desiccated. Okay, so adrenal desiccated, something I love using, that can be really helpful and powerful there. All right. And then on top of that, some of the other things that I think are really important to implement is to take this another step further, is there are certain things that help from going from phenylalanine to tyrosine to L-Dopa to dopamine. So what we call is cofactors. Okay. So, and I would say one of the most important ones, and I'd still put this as kind of like a nootropic, because nootropic is everything about, improving the brain. And this is vitamin B6, but activated vitamin B6, and that's P5P. Okay. Why? Because P5P helps with every single one of these processes. There's some other ones like vitamin C that does help, but I'd say this is the one that I see that's most commonly deficient, especially amongst people with ADHD, is vitamin B6. Now, there's also other different B vitamins that do help with other different neurotransmitter pathways, but this one more specifically for the dopamine pathway. That is very, very important. And I usually will incorporate a B complex if I find that there's other B vitamins that are deficient. And so this is really, really critical. Okay. But one of my, I usually don't do combos. So these are like I would say, this is what is number 6. So these are probably the 6 biggest ones that I see that are like the top nootropics that I use over and over again that can be effective if there's deficiencies in it, right? So there's a big if here. If there's actual deficiencies that we find from labs that we need to implement. If you're just taking it and you're not deficient, you're not going to see any improvement. But a lot of people that I find, especially when I work with people with ADHD, will see these things deficient for sure. Now, on top of that, there's one other thing that I do like, because if we're looking at if someone is deficient in tyrosine and L-Dopa and dopamine, and I already mentioned a lot of these ones, a combo I like that I use, I like this brand, Dopa Boost, because it has the things I just recommend. So if you want to just take like one, that can cover a lot of your bases here, like especially these areas right here, because it has vitamin B6 in it, the P5P activate form, and L-acetyltyrosine, Mucuna Pruriens, and then also has green tea, which is L-theanine. So it has pretty much 4 of the 6 that I just mentioned in here. And so I use this one quite a bit when I have someone like this where all of their levels are low here. I'll add something called like Dopa Boost, which is really great. And I have patients that have seen it come to effect within just the first week of just taking it because they were so deficient in beginning with, and their medication wasn't doing the job because the medication sometimes, might not agree with them. So they have to stop, or it's just not doing what it needs to. And so adding something like this, when we actually truly can look at the body chemistry imbalances, then we really know what we need to be diving into. Okay. So this, with this individual, when we actually incorporate all these things, like he told me it was like a 9-day difference, that he was able to finally function again, be able to go to work, have the motivation, drive, lead his team, and have the energy throughout the day and the focus throughout the day, because we finally actually identified but implemented the right things that were necessary for him. So these are if you're looking at like the top nootropics for you specifically, this is where it does require to understand really your own body chemistry. So, I mean, would you like to have help from us? Like if you want to have help from us and actually finally tackle this, because doing this alone, it's not easy. It's definitely not an easy situation. You've probably been trying for many years, trying to figure this out on your own. So here's why, you don't want to be doing this alone, because you need, help to find the actual source of your imbalances. You need to actually customize. You need a customized plan that's more specific to you, a more individualized plan that's going to be more catered to your needs versus just random diet or supplement regimen that some other, people have done. But it's more specific to your needs, because we've done looking at some body chemistry imbalances. And you also need someone who is actually going to hold you accountable to follow through with the treatment plan to being consistent. And so here's exactly how I can actually help you if you're interested. So my health, my health experts and I have set aside time to speak with you personally to help you actually get started to get results. And so it's called the Focus Mindset Strategy Session. This is the first step to working with us to really understand you and looking at your medical history, understand the imbalances that are going on, so we can actually put an action plan together to really know how to dive into your situation. And so on this Focus Mindset Strategy Session, we'll put together a specific plan for you in your situation to help you actually have a better focus on you to excel in your life, but have that optimal focus mind finally. And so here's exactly how we'll do this together. First we'll uncover what's behind your ADHD symptoms or just your focus issues. Even if you haven't been diagnosed, we work with a lot of people who don't have the diagnosis, but you might suspect you might have some of these symptoms. And it's really your blind spot. And it's most likely not what you've actually been told it is. And then we'll actually customize a plan that will get you unstuck. And finally, we'll determine if it makes sense for us to work together more closely. So here's what I'm offering in this Focus Mindset Strategy Session. Either you could book with me or with one of our health experts. But basically, you get a 45-minute one-on-one personalized strategy session with me or one of my health experts, and that's a value of $750. You also get access to our nutrition and lifestyle tracking app we use with all our patients and clients, and that's a $300 value yearly. And then you do get a bonus. If you do purchase today, you get access to our HD health course. That's a $597 value. So just to reiterate, you get the 45-minute one-on-one personalized strategy session. You also get the nutrition lifestyle tracking app, and you also get the bonus access to my HD health course for a total value of $1,647. But for today, I'm dropping the price, and you get it all for $297. So what you need to do next, if you're interested, is you just click on the link in the description below, and then you're going to fill out this information. You'll purchase. It's really important. Now, this is really important. When you do purchase, a lot of people forget to do this part. When you do purchase, you need to click on this button to actually schedule your time that you can be meeting with me or with one of our health experts. So you'll hit the book now button. You'll drop down and you'll select your practitioner, either with me or one of our health experts, whatever works best for you. I'm usually a lot more booked out. So if you want to be seen sooner, you can meet with one of our health experts that you could see sooner. And you'll select a date and time, fill out your information here. And then it's really important to make sure after you've purchased, it will take you to this landing page to make sure to check your email, to make sure you got your confirmation appointment, as well as to get access to the Practice Better app, to be able to get access to the Lifestyle Nutrition app, as well as to fill out the client form that we need you to fill out before your appointment, And that's really important because we need to look over that. So it helps us determine what labs we would need to recommend, and also to understand your medical history. Just like if you're going to any kind of doctor's appointment, we need that filled out. And then if you have any past labs in the last year, I know it says 2 years here, but basically in the last year, definitely send that to us, any kind of standard labs. And then be sure to block out 45 minutes to an hour, and then to show up on time. If you are late, I usually will give people about 10 minutes. Otherwise, we have to mark it as a no-show. So be really respectful of our time, especially this is all about you. So make sure to show up early, set up reminders. We send you lots of reminders for this. All right. So, thank you so much for attending. And, if you really want to tackle this situation, this is the time to finally tackle your ADHD or your focus issues that you've been suffering with. And so all you got to do is click on that link in the description below and book that. And I hope to see you guys on the other side. Thanks.